Record now. My name is Allison. I'm a physical therapist assistant at TurningPoint, and today we are going to be hearing from Lisa, our registered dietitian at TurningPoint. So I just want to let everybody know that we will have a Q&A section, and we will get to those questions as time permits at the end. I'll be monitoring that, and yeah, if you have any questions, just type it in there. They'll be there, and then we can get to them after the presentation. And so already introduced our speaker, it's Lisa. And then I just want to let you know that Turning Point is a 501(c)(3), a nonprofit, and it depends on community support. And we have some of our socially responsible partners on this slide, and they help to make these events possible without charge, and we are very grateful to them. So I will go ahead and turn it over to Lisa.
All right. Hello, everybody. I got like a quick little funny story. I'm from Houston, Texas, actually. I moved there last year, but I'm coming to you today via New Orleans. I actually got out of town. It was quite treacherous and bad. A lot of power still out and no water. So anyway, we make the best of it. So we're here in New Orleans, the food capital of the world, and we're going to talk about a plant-based diet. So let's just start. What is a plant-based diet? What does this mean? And there's a whole gamut of different, we can call vegetarian diets, vegan diets. There's a whole different many different categories, I guess we can say. But plant-based means that we're eating strictly foods that come from plants, okay? Or anything that does not include a meat, milk, eggs, or even honey. Some strict vegans do not eat honey or sweeten with honey because the honey comes from it's not an animal, it comes from an insect, a bee. So that's what plant-based means. So we're going to talk about, plant-based, what we need to do, and especially if we're going completely plant-based, what nutrients do we really need to focus on? And that's basically, the gist of the slide. We have all the different types of vegetarianism. We have a pescatarian, we have a lovo-active, I always mix that up, lacto-ovo vegetarian, strict. So there's a whole different realm. So the research does show eating more of a plant-based diet is preferred for general overall health, period. Okay. For some, they're like, Lisa, I just can't do it. Plant-based is too hard. So they might add in, like some people are semi-vegetarian. I'll eat chicken, I'll eat fish. I just don't eat beef, pork. I'll eat eggs. I will eat cheese occasionally, but I do like half and half in my coffee. So you make it what you want to make it. So plant-based, and then we have what we call whole food. Okay, so some people can have a whole food diet that not necessarily have to be plant-based. We also have a plant-based whole food diet, which means their whole food are described from natural foods that are not really heavily processed. That means whole, unrefined, minimally processed and refined ingredients. Okay, we have some out there that are completely raw. They eat completely raw diet, meaning everything is obviously raw. They don't cook a vegetable, they don't cook their fruits. Everything is just basically in that raw state. So at the end of the day, you make it what you want to make it. But when we're doing any of these versions of the typical diet that we consumed prior to diagnosis, we have to make sure that our nutrients are being met. Okay, so the benefits of a whole plant-based diet, a lot, if we do it correctly, we can have easy weight management. All right. I have had vegetarians, I've had strict vegetarians in my office that have actually gained weight on it. So we have to be a little bit more conscious of some things. A French fry is vegetarian. It is vegetarian. It's potato and it's vegetable oil, canola oil. But, if someone is eating a bunch of those or eating a lot of salad and using salad dressing instead of being more mindful, then, the weight can go the other way. But overall, it can be easy to manage your weight once you've lost it. Disease prevention, It can slow down and prevent certain types of cancer. We know that we encourage people to have more of a plant-based diet. The American Institute for Cancer Research doesn't say you have to be strict plant-based, but it says we should choose most of our foods from our plants. It can help with type 2 diabetes. It can actually help with cardiovascular disease, any type of heart disease. And so eating a plant-based is just not cancer related. It can be for many different reasons. And then two, it is a lighter environmental footprint out there. Plant-based diets take up much less stress on the environment than eating our meat counterparts. So with that, we know what our plants are. All right, we're just going to go over some of these, what it would all encompass on a vegetarian or vegan or plant-based diet. And so, we start with fruit. Fruits are used, obviously, to get all our nutrients in. Fruits give us a huge amount of fiber. Fruits, they're colorful. They give us our phytonutrients. And phytonutrients are one that, that seems to be the posh topic over the past, I'm going to say 10 years, maybe more. But the fruits and vegetables get their color from the phytochemical that's in it. So we have our red, like our strawberries, you see there, our raspberries. You have black, red, purple, like blackberries, grapes, blueberries. They all have a different phytonutrient in them. We have an apple is my favorite one to ask people about. I'll sit down and say, we always think of an orange as being high in vitamin C, and a banana like outrageous in potassium. And then I ask, like, well, what's an apple good for? Or watermelon. People are like, watermelon is just water, but watermelon has lycopene, which is the phytonutrient. Apples have quercetin. I call it quercetin, and that's another huge phytonutrient. So they all are, an apple a day does keep the doctor away. That's the old verbiage, or the little tagline from before, but an apple a day can and does. So all of our fruits, and we always encourage a plethora of color, just like with our vegetables. Fruits, obviously, will have the fructose. The fruit is sweeter. The fruits can be used as sweetener in different types of foods that we're eating. And they currently do that, in processed foods, but more in a vegan diet, that we will rely mostly on our fruit to get that sweet satisfaction. Our vegetables, we have all different types of vegetables. These are more, on this page, these are more of your non-starchy vegetables. So your broccoli, your cauliflower, you have eggplant in there. There's mushrooms, anything, all the gamut, all vegetables, and they're all different color as well. Vegetables are non-starchy vegetables. They are mostly fiber. They're very low calorie. I usually account for about 25 calories per serving. So this is where we load up to fill up, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Then we have our root vegetables, and these are more of your starchy vegetables. So you have things like your sweet potato or your regular white potato that, people shun or say it's bad, but a white potato is an enormous amount of potassium. And in our society, we generally are lower in potassium intake. So bananas, potatoes are actually really good for us as far as the potassium content. So we have sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes are high in beta carotene. You've got beets on there. Then you've got little radishes. Those are not as starchy, but those are your tubers. Those are the ones those are your root vegetables. And those, like your beets, can actually be used to sweeten things as well. They add a lot of color. They're huge. They give you great iron. I had somebody ask about iron content and how can we meet iron needs, and we'll discuss that in a little bit. But those are things that we can. Our vegetables do have some iron. Our vegetables, like our fruit, are mostly fiber. They give us they fill us up with the fiber, keep our satiety, or keep us satisfied longer when we do incorporate those in with our meals. So they're important that way as well. Whole grain. So whole grain, we see here a whole gamut. We have corn. Corn is a whole grain. Corn is a starchy vegetable. We see things that are on there, just like quinoa is a whole grain. We see millet. There's things on here like, your brown rice, oatmeal, like steel cut oats. Those are more of the whole grain. You have other types that are out there like freekeh, kamut. Those things are more of your ancient grains that are coming back into play. Farro is a really good one that's made in a lot of Italian dishes, and that it falls under our plant-based diet. So this group will give us, again, this gives us some B vitamins, but this also will give us that fiber, okay? This is a really good sustainable carbohydrate. It's a complex carbohydrate, meaning that it takes a little bit longer for our body to break it down and to digest it. We have a fruit that's more of a simple carbohydrate. It's more fructose in it. It does have some fiber, but these complex carbohydrates, again, they help slow down the digestion as when they're sitting in our gut. Okay, a lot of times when we have, if we have anybody that has gastroparesis, which is a delay in stomach emptying, we kind of wipe away all of these things, which is, it's like, we have to because their stomach doesn't empty, but the reason that we do it is because they're very high fiber content. So legumes, and this group right here is one, again, a lot of fiber. This group has a huge amount of iron. This is where a lot of the vegans can capture a lot of the iron. And it is also a really good source of protein. Vegetarian or vegans, we tend to worry about them not getting enough protein, but we can actually meet our protein needs just perfectly eating a vegan diet. And I'm going to give you an idea. I'll show you how to calculate what your individual protein needs are. So legumes, again, we can mash them. We take our bonzo beans and we can flip them. We can do anything that we want to with them. Smash them, and that becomes, our hummus. And that hummus can be put on our whole grain crackers or whole grain, pita bread, anything like that. Actually, we can take carrot sticks and dip those into the hummus. Or you take black beans, you can have like the refried beans without all the beef or the tallow. You just mash the beans, and that will add a different texture, a layer, and nutrition to your meal. Nuts and seeds. Nuts and seeds, a lot of people will think that our nuts and seeds provide us with a bulk of our protein, but actually they do not. They do provide some protein. In a serving of nuts, like say a tablespoon of a nut butter, peanut butter, or almond butter, we allow for about 3 grams of protein, roughly. So an ounce of nuts, we say, is about 6 grams, which isn't a lot. It's not that it's not significant, but when we talk about protein, we talk about calorie count as well. And so the calorie protein ratio with that is there's a higher amount of calories for the amount of protein that we get. So just at a reference point, if we're doing the traditional diet and we have 1 ounce of any meat, so you have an ounce of chicken, say, or an ounce of very lean pork or beef, a very lean piece of meat, we allow about 35 calories per cooked ounce, and that has 7 grams of protein. So if we're looking at an ounce of nuts, they can be in the upwards of 200 plus calories and getting the 6 grams of protein. So nuts and seeds are a good way to add our healthy fats, and that's where we focus on. That's where we're getting all of our healthy oils. Our walnuts are going to provide us with omega-3s, and omega-3s are, where else do we get omega-3s in our standard traditional diet? Is we tell everyone salmon. Salmon is these fatty fish. But if we have eliminated that from the diet, where else in our diet can we get it? And walnuts are one of them. Not on here, I don't have a picture of, but chia seeds and oh my gosh, flaxseed. I couldn't. Total brain fart, but so those two are the things that we non-meat related that we can add to our diet to get in these essential amino acids. And omega-3s are essential. We don't pull those in. Our body does not produce them, so they are essential for us to get them in our diet. So adding nuts and seeds, I always tell people that we add those nuts and seeds. They do give us a little bit more protein, but what they're really providing us is with those essential oils, the really good anti-inflammatory oils that they have a little bit of the saturated fats in them, but the monounsaturated and poly way outweigh any ill benefit of a saturated fat there. So they are important, that they shouldn't be, if we try to get our protein needs met with nuts and seeds, the calorie content of our diet would be rather drastically high. All right, so this is a plant, I just put this on, this is basically a meal. This is a plant-based whole meal, whole grain meal. And what do we have on this plate? We have our fruit. There's a little bit, if we look at the bottom, I think those are sliced pears. at the bottom. The fruit will give us, again, the little sweetness, but again, it gives us another layer of those phytonutrients. All your veggies, you can see them. You can see them right there. There's shredded carrots. There's zucchini wrapped up. There's it looks like small little bitty leafy kale, or the baby kale. You can do collards here. You can do bok choy. Any of that would be good in this. The tubers, they add, like your sweet potatoes, right here they add if you look there, there's beets. The tuber is also the radish. A radish gets kind of scoffed at, like a very low calorie, but it does provide with nutrition. It does provide us with some great benefit with that. And then your legumes. So they right here, what they have is your the garbanzo beans, which again, they give us the protein, they give us the B vitamins, and they give us fiber. And then their whole grain is the quinoa. So meals like this, very simple. They put, if you can tell, they put a little bit, it looks to me as if those are little chia seeds. It could be a little bit of pepper, coarse ground pepper, maybe a little bit of salt on there. And that's all basically that you need. If you chop all that up, you can put a little bit of vinegar on that. Red wine or balsamic vinegar drizzled on top, that would be just the same. So it doesn't have to be overcomplicated. You have to be a gourmet chef. It's just kind of throwing everything together or throwing everything on one plate. Okay. All right. So are we getting enough nutrients? And where do what nutrients do lack when we're talking about being a vegan? Okay. So we have calcium. So the RDI, or the recommended daily intake of calcium, is about 1,000 to 1,200 milligrams per day. Now we are perfect and fine to supplement that, and some of the medications that we are taking post-treatment do require us to supplement that just to keep our bones healthy. So calcium, 1,000 to 1,200 milligrams is what's recommended a day. And if we're going to supplement, well, first let's talk about the vegetable, where we get it. Our vegetables like rhubarb stalks, collard greens are really high. Spinach, broccoli, kale are green leafies. Fruit, believe it or not, navel oranges have some calcium in them. Your legumes, you can do fortified soy milk, because like all of those, the different milk alternatives, if we're going to add those in, like your cashew milk or your almond milk or rice milk, all of those are now fortified, and most of them, I should say, are fortified, and they do provide calcium with those. So if we're not drinking cow's milk anymore, always look for a milk alternative that is fortified with a type of a calcium. Okay. You have calcium set in tofu. White beans will provide with a little bit of calcium. So white beans are another way to make a paste. You can actually take white beans, mash them down, take some quinoa, some seasonings, and you can actually form almost like a meatball out of that. And that's what we use, the paste, the binding, and whereas we would use an egg before, this time we're going to use the white beans. They're used for that a lot over in the vegan diets. Almonds and tahini are another thing that do provide us with calcium. And almonds, you'll see them show up again on our NICE and our zinc list. Another thing is molasses. Molasses is something that you can use. It's another sweetener if you want to do it that way. Perfect and fine to do that. As far as supplementation, we have to remember with calcium, we don't take, if we're going to get calcium in the form of a supplement, they come in like a 500, I apologize, 500 or 600 milligram dose. And we split that up. We don't take all 1,000 or 1,200 at one time. You have a better absorption if you split those two, if you take it once in the morning and then once in the evening. Another thing with calcium, we don't want to take a calcium supplement along with, say, a multivitamin that has iron in it, because the iron will bind with calcium. So we need to take that calcium pretty much by itself, or take an iron supplement at a different time. Okay, so that's calcium. Calcium can be met. It can easily be met, especially if we're drinking those fortified milk alternatives. Okay, iron is something, we supplement with iron, and really 15 to 18 milligrams of iron are what we need. 15 milligrams of iron are for female that are postmenopausal. We don't need as much iron once we are not having any more menses. So 15 to 18 milligrams is where we get it. or where our goal is. And we can get it in the form of oatmeal. Again, our green leafies, our spinach, Swiss chard, you can throw that in. Collard greens are a really good source. Dried figs or figs period, but dried figs, because we can eat more. When they say dry, we eat more dried figs. Lentils, kidney beans, chickpeas, any of the legumes are going to provide us with that iron. Okay. The iron that we're getting from our fruits and vegetables, we have two types of iron. We have a heme iron and a non-heme iron. Heme iron is found in all your animal products. So when we are focused more on our non-heme iron, getting our needs met that way, we always make sure in the back end that we have a vitamin C source when we're having that. So when we have lentils per se or chickpeas, have something with that has that's vitamin C. So, like if we did the meal before that had I think it was that baby kale. There's some vitamin C, there's some iron in that. We get iron with the chickpeas. What else was on that? There's a little bit of vitamin C in that pear, if that's truly what that was. I assume that was a pear. So just always make sure a little bit of vitamin C, and then you will uptake some of the iron, will be easier. You'll absorb iron easier. All right, so nuts and seeds, your almonds here again are a great source of iron, and the tahini, and then again, the molasses. And a lot of people I do know, will just drizzle molasses on things. They'll drizzle it on oatmeal. I don't know if you've ever had it plain like that, but it's a different experience. But on oatmeal, they'll put it on some of their, they'll do different yogurts that are made from the soy milk yogurt, or almond milk yogurt, whichever, and then they'll kind of sweeten it with that. So you can experiment with the molasses. Zinc, here we are. That is another one that we tend to be low in, because zinc is found in more of our animal based products. So wheat germ is one that I love to have wheat germ on hand. Wheat germ is something that's nutty. I don't know if you've ever had it. It comes in a little jar. It's generally over by all your oatmeal and your cereal section. So wheat germ is good that you can sprinkle it on anything. Wheat germ, you can take an almond milk yogurt, a vanilla flavored almond milk yogurt, slice a banana in it for your potassium, sprinkle wheat germ on it, and it legit it tastes like a dessert to me, and it's just that yummy. But wheat germ can be added to oatmeal. Wheat germ can be added, it can be sprinkled on your salad very easily. So that's something that's good to just keep on hand. Like I said, it comes in a jar. It adds a nutty flavor to everything. Your legumes, your tofu is going to give you some zinc. We need 8 milligrams, by the way. Chickpeas, you have lentils, peanuts, peas. Those are even your English peas, that type of. So those things will give you a little bit of zinc, along with pumpkin seeds. That's another great one. Pumpkin seeds are another huge high buffer. Gives you a lot of bang for its buck. Those are great things to add to a salad. Sometimes you'll see pumpkin seeds served with tomato soup. That's another good crunch. Instead of croutons, we're going to add something that's more nutritious and gives you more nutrients in that pumpkin seeds. Cashews, sunflower seeds, and then almonds. So if you're seeing all these things kind of overlap, and these nutrients that we do generally lack if we're being strict vegan or vegetarian can be met, we just have to make sure that these things are on a daily basis. All right, so to protein. So protein needs, your average protein needs are 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. All right, so in order to calculate what your, how many kilograms you are, you take your weight in pounds and you divide it by 2.2. So, and your baseline, your needs are 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram. Okay, I don't have, so we can say, let's just say, for instance, if we have a 150-pound individual, they are 68 kilograms. And so their rock bottom, I always say rock bottom protein needs are about 54 grams. All right. So here is, the bulk of our protein, like being vegan, will come from, we have seitan, we have aromatic quinoa, Soy is one that is a complete protein. So quinoa and soy, what we call them is a complete protein, meaning they have all the essential amino acids, all those 9 essential amino acids. Whereas, so that's what we have to make sure in a day, that we have all of these different essential amino acids. We used to say back in the day that we would have to combine at one meal, we would have to have, red beans and rice are a perfect example of a complete protein. You have the different protein in your beans, and then the rice provides you with the other amino acids. So when combined, they give you all the complete protein. But what they've said over the last, it's been a while, but is that you can have rice in the morning and then red beans later, and you'll still have that complete protein throughout the day. So it's just getting a variety and switching things up. So these are, our grains. So quinoa, in a serving of quinoa, can have about 9 grams of protein and is a complete. Your whole wheat, like your whole wheat spaghetti or just whole wheat pasta, period, is going to give you some protein. Pasta in general, if we're not doing whole wheat, we want you to do whole grain, but if you just do pasta in general, pasta is flour, it's made of flour. There are vegan ones out there that have no eggs added to them, but basically it's flour and water. And they provide you with the carbohydrate, but all of that group, meaning rice, pasta, we always generally allow about 3 grams of protein per serving, just to guesstimate. So you're pulling protein in from that, though it's not a meat source. Okay, so you are pulling a little bit in that. Even like with cereal, oatmeals, that kind of stuff, your oats, you do provide. I do round up and say there's about 3 grams of protein per serving, and a serving of, say, for instance, spaghetti or pasta is about half cup. Serving of rice is about 1/3 of a cup. So it's not that it's null and void in protein, but you're getting a little bit of it, but it does add to your total at the end of the day. Okay, so your lentils, or your legumes, I'm sorry. So legumes, again, those are the heavier hitters. You can pull in 13 grams of protein, in a half a cup of some legumes. So that's where we're getting the bulk of the protein met when we're eliminating some of those meat products. So get a variety of them, like tempeh. You can do peanuts, tofu, soy milk, lentils, beans. The one thing I do want to say about the soy milk, for instance, it gives you a little bit of protein. It's not a heavy hitter. Like if you drink regular milk, there's 8 grams of protein per cup. Soy milk, on average, is about 1. Some of them will fortify and be up to about 3. So that's not where we're getting the bulk of it, but it does provide you with a little bit. Same with nuts and seeds. Like I said before, pumpkin seeds, almonds, great soy, all of them. I just have listed these 2 here, but all of the nuts and seeds will provide us with that protein. Something that's not on here that I didn't add on here, are hemp hearts, hemp seeds. I don't know if you've ever played with them or seen them. They're just like little white. They just add more color and depth. They add another dimension. But there's about 10 grams of protein in a serving, and I sprinkle them on everything. A serving is about 3 tablespoons, which seems like a lot, but over a course of a day, very easily met. I could put 2 tablespoons of hemp hearts or hemp seeds in a salad. I put it on all my soup. I put it on your vegan chili or even your regular chili. But that just adds a layer of nutrients that also has a little bit of zinc, has some magnesium. So that is one that I tell people. I always encourage them to have things like hemp hearts or hemp seeds, chia seeds, flax seeds are fine to keep, and those are things to sprinkle on. I use the hemp a lot because they don't add any flavor. They just add another layer of texture, but they're chock full of a lot of nutrients. So, if you had a meal that had a serving of, say, lentils, and you added your, which could be about, I think it's about 9 grams of protein, 9 to 10. I'd have to look that up. And then you add in your hemp hearts, you're up to about 18 grams of protein. So, and then we had our 150-pound female client, and 54 grams of protein was at the minimum, the rock bottom minimum. So vegetables, I didn't touch on those aren't on here, but vegetables, a serving of vegetables do have protein in them, and a serving, which is about a half cup cooked, 1 cup raw, and we allow about 2 grams of protein. So you know, if we're doing more plant-based and we're getting, like we saw that plate, that whole entire mound of vegetables, you know, very low calorie, and we're getting about 2 grams of protein per serving. So if we, in the evening, if we did, let's say you did 4 cups of steamed broccoli, that's actually 8 servings, to tell you the truth. That's 16 grams of protein, right? Yeah. So a half cup of steamed broccoli has 2 grams of protein. Yeah. So if you have 8 cups, or 4 cups, that's times 8. So that's a good chunk, because you add that with all your other things, and we can get that, we can actually get those needs met. All right. Vitamin D. Excuse me. So vitamin D really is our sunshine vitamin. Vitamin D, we're discovering, is, you know, it's been the posh nutrient here these last, gosh, I don't even know, 10, 15 years. It seems to be, we're doing more and more research with it, because we're finding people are more deficient. And, you know, lacking vitamin D, or being deficient in vitamin D, does put it more at risk of heart disease and certain types of cancer. So it has been something that we're focusing on here lately. And, you know, what's happening with the vitamin D, or why we're discovering more deficiencies, is when we scared everybody and tell everybody, and we do need to use our sunscreen, make sure we watch our sun exposure. But everything has sunscreen in it now. So we're actually getting, it seems like, no sun exposure. So that sun exposure is really the most ideal way to convert that vitamin D in our body to our absorbable vitamin D. So sun exposure, if we go out, people just make sure 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, your whiter color skin. If you have darker color skin, 15 to 20. And it could be as simple as putting your hand out outside your window 15 or 20 minutes. It's not going out and laying in your bathing suit for that amount of time. But from that point, then of course, yes, we need to have a lot of our sunscreen on to protect our skin. But vitamin D supplementation, and this, you know, our vitamin D needs, you know, it says 600, about 800 IUs. I think we're going to probably change that shortly. You know, vitamin D is found mostly in our dairy, supplementing in our dairy, but in all reality, there's not a whole lot of vitamin D in milk. So the highest source of vitamin D in our diet is really cod liver oil. So if you want to do that, 1 or 2 tablespoons of cod liver oil is perfect and fine. Most people do supplement with it, and when we do supplement with vitamin D3. That's the most important. But before people start jumping on board with just willy-nilly and taking a bunch of vitamin D, I really like for everyone to get their vitamin D levels checked and find out where you are before we start supplementing. We found, you know, back in the day, vitamin D is a fat soluble vitamin. So, you know, and fat soluble vitamins at high levels are toxic. So that's why we're a little bit gun shy of telling people to go supplement. But we're finding that, you know, we're all nutrient dense, deficient in vitamin D, a lot of us. So depending on what that number comes out is how we recommend that you supplement. So in the beginning, you know, we used to get prescription strength vitamin D. We used to take 50,000 IUs of vitamin D once a week for 12 weeks and then get another redraw. Vitamin D, the fat soluble ones, are actually hard to pull that number up if it's low. So that's why it's such a high number, and then we spread it out over 12 weeks. If you have your labs drawn again and it's low still, then they put you, I think, it's another 6 weeks. Or your doctor might say, hey, I want you to take 5,000 IUs of vitamin D every single day and come back in 12 weeks and we'll check it. But it should be vitamin D3. A trick with vitamin D is that when you eat when you supplement, if you're supplementing with your vitamin D, you should have that vitamin D with a meal that has fat in it. Okay, so hence a tablespoon of peanut butter, or your oatmeal that has walnuts and almonds on it. So make sure that you do that, because you'll have better absorption, because it is a fat soluble vitamin and you do need your fat there to absorb, or to better absorb. Okay. All right, B12. B12 is one, it's fortified, you know, it can be fortified in plant-based milks and cereals. And that's really the biggest place. Like, we look for cereals, like breakfast cereal. There are a lot of really good whole grain cereals out there. What you look for, some of them will be fortified with iron. and B12. So that's what we will look at if we don't want to physically take any B12 supplements. Generally, that's what we're going to look for. Okay. Another thing, and I didn't put it on here, and I apologize for that, but generally, the Health and Human Services recommends supplementing B12 for all adults. Okay, over the age of 50. If we don't want to do that, I don't know if anyone has heard of nutritional yeast. And nutritional yeast is different than regular yeast. It is not used in baking. Whereas the other yeast helps our bread rise. This yeast is actually made for it's nutritional yeast, and it is outrageously high in B12. So 2 tablespoons of that, I think, will meet like almost 700% of your RDI for your B12. So if we don't want to physically supplement with that, we can actually, you take the, just take 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. The nutritional yeast is kind of nutty. I've had it in a porridge type thing. It's like a little bit of oatmeal or almost like a cream of wheat type. And I've had it in there. And they put like a lot of cinnamon and nutmeg. It's actually quite tasty. So you can buy that. You generally will buy that. You can buy it in the refrigerated section, mostly at a health food store. So that's how I would get the B12. If you want to take a B12, there's, I wouldn't go crazy high with taking, like about 1,000, 1,000 milligrams would be okay to take a B12. And B12 helps our body break down the foods. I mean, it does help. It helps with digestion. So we do need that. And as we do age, our body's ability to utilize that B12 is declines. All right. Gosh, I am so sorry. All right. So no sweat. That we don't want to really super sweat the small stuff. A kind of a good goal would be like around 1,000 calories of legumes and whole grains and starchy vegetables to your routine every single day. All right. So that would be your 1,000 calories. And then the rest of it would be, you would get in the form of your healthy, fattier fish. I mean, not fattier fish, but fats. So your avocados they fit in the rest of those calories. Your nuts and seeds will give you your oils, your calories, and then your fruit. Okay, fruit is the one thing, and I didn't touch on this. Fruit is the only, fruit and fat are the only things in our diet that don't give us protein. All right, so if we're going to go heavy on anything, we should go heavy on the vegetables than the fruit. But fruit is more calorically dense and doesn't have as much protein. It has 0 protein, actually. Same with our fats. So oils, they do not have any protein in them. Okay, so the thing with being plant-based is this is like, I like the look of this is because it shows you basically our calorie density. So this is what different foods at 500 calories looks like. I mean, I could have put this on a plate, but I like this slide just because it shows you volume in our stomach. And so 500 calories of an oil fills up a little bitty part of our stomach. We show you in cheese, and then we show you with meat. Okay. As far as with our meat, like I had said, 1 ounce of a very lean chicken has about 35 calories. So that's a huge amount. That's kind of a large amount of protein in there. So potatoes, rice, and beans, if we're going to do 500 calories, that see where your stomach is. But fruits and vegetables, if we look at them, like I gave you the calories, if we think about how much, 500 calories of a vegetable, if it's a cup of a vegetable, if it has 25 calories per serving, like look at how much volume. Okay. And volumetrics, you can have someone that eats this enormous volume of a salad or a meal, females in particular, we always were like, oh, I used to eat that. That was the big thing when my mom would go on diets, like he who eat the least amount of food or the smallest amount wins. But volume, you can eat an enormous salad, a huge, enormous salad for less calories, better satiety than if you would have just to say, a small counterpart of a piece of protein or, your cheese. So at the end of the day, it's your plant-based diet is more volumetric. But when we do that, we want to get everything mixed in together because a carbohydrate proteins and fat, when mixed together, keep the satiety, keep our stomach satisfied longer. I mean, the fiber does help with that, but if we just eat a fruit, you know, our blood sugars go up, you know, are satisfied a little bit, and then our declines and it goes back down. So then we're like hungry again. It's like almost a reactive hypoglycemia. So if we have a combination of carbohydrates with a little bit of protein and fat and fiber, your insulin, everything you'll gradually become satisfied. You'll stay satisfied longer because it takes longer for your body to break all that down together. And then the volume that you have is going to take longer to break down. So always try to get a combination of everything at each meal. Being plant-based or vegan, again, it is the same eating. I always recommend 3 meals a day at minimum. Our bodies do not like to go more than 5 waking hours without nourishment. So it doesn't matter to me that if you're not eating any red meat or period, if you're vegan, pescatarian, whatever, you should be eating 3 meals a day. I prefer to fuel in between. That just helps with your metabolic rate. Fueling for exercise, sometimes, you know, we have a hard time meeting our needs, you know, especially if we're heavy into the exercise. With that, we need more carbohydrates if we're burning a lot of fuel, like if we're running or cycling. Carbohydrates you need, and that would be more on your fruit end. And getting your protein needs met after that, and that could be supplements. There are vegan supplements out there if you need to supplement with protein, and that would be a plant-based, like a pea protein supplement. Those are all out there. Okay. All right, so that really, I think that sort of ended that one. With that, if there's any questions, we can go ahead at this point, Allison, and get some questions in.
Alrighty. So we've got 2 questions so far.
Okay.
Cricket asked, would you recommend almond milk?
As an alternative, or just like in general? Cricket, I do recommend almond milk. I'm not sure if you're asking which type of almond milk, but almond milk is a great alternative. Almond milk will give you, they do supplement. So look for it fortified with calcium and vitamin D. And any of them out there, there's a really good ones. I like an unsweetened vanilla. I will take that, and sometimes I'll add, you know, after a long workout, I'll add a protein powder to that. If I'm doing weights, that's how I'll do that. And there's a lot of great vegan, like I said, protein powders out there that you can do. But yeah, almond milk is great. It's a great alternative.
Cricket clarified her question by saying as an alternative to soy milk.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If we're avoiding soy, if we're nervous to eat soy, yes, almond milk is perfect and fine. They have that cashew milk. I don't know if you've tried that one. That's another good one. That's more, cashew milk to me is creamier. Has more of a, you know, I like skim milk. I've always did, but the cashew milk is more decadent, I think, but it's the same.
Okay, we have another question. Do you consider monk fruit a healthy sugar substitute?
All of them. Yes, you absolutely can do that. All of your fruits, they can be dehydrated and used as sugar. So you can go to the grocery store and buy fructose. I mean, you can do that. Same thing. It's all the same thing. At the end of the day, it is sugar. It doesn't have any of the nutritional properties of that. So if you went to the store and bought fructose, it's just the fructose. It's not any of the vitamins or the nutrients or the phytochemicals that are in that sugar. So maybe that's a clarification. It's not a healthier sugar. It is still a sugar. And it should still be counted as a sugar, like we talked about, you know, added sugars. We talked about that. So it should still be added, counted like that. It is still sugar. But perfect for vegans. Perfect for vegans.
And then we have another question. What are your thoughts about tofu?
Tofu is a great alternative. And it's perfect and fine to use. The great thing with tofu, I mean, there's different textures. There's the firm, and then there's soft tofu. So you can do multiple different things with it. Tofu doesn't have a lot of flavor, so it will absorb the flavor of what you're cooking it in. So people, you can put great seasonings on it and grill it. You can bake it in the oven. You can cube it up and put it in soups or stews. You can use that in form of chili instead of all the meat. People do tofu chili, and that's fine. It's perfect. Yeah. It's a complete protein.
All right, thank you. That's all the questions we have so
Yay!
far. Does anybody have anything? Oh, we got a chat.
There's one more.
Oh, let me see what
I saw something light up.
I did too, I thought. Oh, wait, there it goes.
Can I touch it?
Yeah, it says, Tanya Miller says, jumping back again to the monk fruit question that you just answered, some of the recipes I have recommend honey. What do you believe is the healthiest sweetener?
Okay, so that's a beautiful question. So if we're strict vegan or strictly plant-based, like I said, that people that are strictly plant-based will not use honey. Okay, if we're like, we're doing our own thing. As far as being a healthier form of a sugar, because basically honey is sugar, that concentrated monk fruit, it's sugar. So it is basically at that point is what you prefer taste-wise. Honey, just because it comes from a bee, does not make it any better. It is still added sugar at the end of the day. So if we look on a food label, and a food label now will show us how much added sugar is in there. If you have honey in there, it's going to show under the added sugar category. It's not going to be something that's there naturally, because we add honey or we add the monk fruit in that to sweeten it. So that will be listed. Even if you find something that's this beautiful and it's sweetened with either honey, you'll see how much added sugar, and that's what it accounts for. So honey, the benefits of honey are for those that have allergies. So I tell them to get local honey, and that is beneficial as far as with allergies. But as far as one is more superior, they are all in the same bucket of added sugar.
All right, and Robin asks, what do you think about plant-based meats?
Oh, that's another excellent question. I didn't address that. All right. So plant-based meats are a great alternative. Okay. But I want you to remember that a soy hot dog is still heavily processed. It might not have the nitrates, might be beef or pork, but it is still heavily processed. So if we're gonna like divide hairs here, we can, I think the meat alternatives are great. I think that we can do a lot of things on our own as far as making like burger wise, like we can do, like I said, like I made those quinoa, actually they're buffalo ball things for Super Bowl. Instead of using meat, I use quinoa in the bean paste. They are a good alternative. If we're not eating red meat, they are actually, yes, they are much better alternative. But remember the process, so we don't want to focus have everything a meat alternative, or go down that aisle and get, your chicken nuggets that are soy. I mean, that's a good treat, but it shouldn't be the focus, just like anybody else. So hopefully that answered it.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Lisa, for answering. Anyone else have any questions? I'll give you a few more minutes. Just
says that there's two here. Are those the ones that you just read?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, okay. All right, you did. Yep. You got it. Okay. All right.
Okay. Oh, sorry if you guys hear that. That's my little baby.
Oh,
here.
I do. We all love that. You know that we all love it.
Yes. Thank you. Okay.
One more.
So, if you guys think of any more questions that you have later on, you can always send them to us at staff@myturningpoint.org. And thank you again, Lisa. Thank you again for joining us today. And again, it will be posted on our social media, our YouTube page. And then just a quick reminder that Turning Point is committed to the support and the recovery of breast cancer patients. through survivorship education. So please feel free to express your appreciation of this program through a donation at myturningpoint.org. We are excited to announce that now you can pay through PayPal. Okay, and thank you so much, everybody. We'll go
Thank you
ahead.
guys.
Yes, we'll go ahead and log off. Thanks,
All right.
Lisa.
Bye, everyone. Bye. Thanks for attending. Bye-bye.
Bye.